Let's talk about Slack's $1 billion secret. For decades, the enterprise software world was just a top-down nightmare. But today, we're unpacking exactly how Slack broke literally all the traditional rules and rode this completely frictionless, product-led motion all the way to a $1 billion valuation.
Think back to that agonizing era of clunky, fragmented legacy software. You were probably drowning in unread emails, disjointed chat apps, and those endless sticky notes all over your desk. And honestly, the worst part? You were forced to use these massive, complex tools simply because someone at the very top bought them without ever actually asking what you needed. We call this the top-down trap. It's where traditional companies basically suffocate their own growth. They build a product that's meant to help teams collaborate, but then they hide all of that core value behind a mandatory sales call, a forced demo, and an incredibly aggressive paywall. They try to monetize the user before the user has even formed a habit, treating free trials like some cheap marketing gimmick. Look, if your users cannot seamlessly experience your product's value in the first 5 minutes, your growth model is absolutely broken.
And this is where Slack completely shattered the traditional SaaS playbook. When they launched their beta version, they didn't sit around slowly grinding out enterprise contracts. No way. They brought in 8,000 users in just 24 hours. 2 weeks later, that number nearly doubled to 15,000 users. And then came the absolute jaw-dropper, a $1 billion valuation in merely 8 months. Going from 0 to $1 billion that fast is just a staggering trajectory. And the absolute craziest part is they achieved this practically without a traditional enterprise sales team. They literally let the product sell itself.
Now, let's just let this next number sink in for a second. $27 billion. Yeah, that is Slack's ultimate enterprise value. I really want to highlight the sheer, unprecedented scale of this product-led success. It proves that what they did wasn't just some lucky fluke. It was a fundamental shift in how business-to-business software is actually adopted and scaled. It completely redefined the ceiling for a modern SaaS company.
Just think about the absolute pain of the traditional B2B sales cycle. On one side, you have pure friction. Imagine a project manager having to fill out a 20-field contact form just to test out a chat app. You have these artificial walls where executives have to approve the budget before the team even knows if the software fits their daily workflow. But then on the other side, you have Slack's model, which is just pure virality. You download the app, invite 3 friends with a single click, and boom, you instantly start working together. Slack realized super early on that locking their tool behind a paid-only model was a catastrophic mistake. So they made this brilliant tactical shift to freemium. By allowing teams to try the software for free up to a generous limit, they completely bypassed the IT department, the procurement process, and the CFO.
So I want to ask you a very direct question here. Would you sit through a 45-minute corporate discovery call just so you could send a GIF to your lead developer? Of course you wouldn't, and neither would your customers. This just perfectly highlights the absolute absurdity of putting sales reps in front of simple product adoption. When the core action of your software is communication and collaboration, adding a massive administrative hurdle to get started is the absolute fastest way to kill user interest. You're essentially punishing your customer for wanting to try your tool. Slack understood one crucial reality way before anyone else did. The end users are the real decision makers. If you are locking your collaboration tool behind a paywall, you are actively preventing your own product from going viral inside a company. You are literally slowing down your own adoption rate just to grab some short-term revenue. And in a winner-takes-all market, prioritizing a small, immediate check over massive, widespread user adoption is a lethal mistake. You win the enterprise by winning the employees first.
So how exactly do they pull this off? Well, they used freemium as a growth catalyst, and that relies on 3 completely non-negotiable elements. First up is a generous free tier. This wasn't some restricted, useless trial. It provided enough real, tangible value for small teams to collaborate endlessly, which established massive stickiness and reliance on the platform. Second was self-serve sign-up. The onboarding was incredibly smooth, enabling entire businesses to adopt the tool without a single sales interaction or technical roadblock. And third, virality features. Free teams could effortlessly invite other free teams. This organically propagated usage across entire departments until they naturally hit those usage limits, making upgrades feel completely justified and seamless.
Now, let's contrast these 2 approaches because it's basically a life or death scenario for a startup. Picture 2 product managers. The traditional B2B PM says, hey, we've locked our new team collaboration feature behind the enterprise tier. We require a minimum of 50 seats and a mandatory demo with an account executive before anyone can even touch it. Look, that approach is dead on arrival today.
Now compare that to the product-led approach. They say, we made the core feature completely free, eliminated the sales call, and made it one click to invite coworkers. Last week, 3 engineers started using it. Today, the entire 500-person department is on it, and the CTO just put her credit card in to unlock message history. That right there is exactly how you build a unicorn.
All right, so we've covered the overall strategy, but let's dive into the Slack playbook and look at the actual tactical execution of how to do freemium right. Tactic number 1 on our playbook is core UX superiority. Let's be brutally honest here. A free product is completely useless if the product itself is terrible. You can't differentiate just on price. When the price is 0, you have to differentiate heavily on the experience. Slack stood out because its core features were vastly superior to anything else on the market. They introduced incredibly powerful search functionality, so you could navigate years of conversations instantly, essentially creating a searchable brain for your entire company. They mastered leaf state synchronization, meaning you could seamlessly switch from your laptop right to your phone without losing your place or context. And they integrated incredibly comprehensive file sharing that just worked. The utility was undeniably great right from day one.
Moving on to tactic 2, you have to weaponize word of mouth. Slack realized very early on that their early users were their actual marketing team. Their early growth engine was largely driven by exceptional, borderline obsessive customer care. I mean, they literally replied to every single piece of feedback they received. And they didn't just listen politely, they incorporated those user suggestions directly into the product at a rapid pace. And this part is brilliant. They amplified all those happy customer testimonials by creating things like the Twitter Wall of Love, which massively boosted their visibility and social proof. They made their users feel heard, respected, and part of the journey. And in return, those users became incredibly vocal evangelists for the brand.
And tactic 3, layer modular monetization. The golden rule here is that you absolutely do not ask for the big check up front. You get them fully embedded in the company workflow first, using that highly generous free core. Only then do you start adding premium modular capabilities on top of that established habit. A perfect modern example of this is how Slack offers the Slack AI add-on today. The core messaging product remains highly accessible, but if a company wants advanced intelligence and search summarization to save time, they pay an extra $10 per user per month. You get them in for free, you hook them on the core utility, and then you monetize the advanced layers perfectly aligned with the massive value they're already getting.
Time for a quick reality check. I want you to think deeply about the products you build, or even just the tools you champion in your own organization. Look objectively at the onboarding experience. Are you forcing users to prove they are worthy of your product by making them jump through endless sales hoops? Or are you proving your product is worthy of their time by letting them experience it immediately? Every single form field, every required phone call, every delay is friction. If you are standing in the way of your users, you are quite literally standing in the way of your own success. So let's bring it all together. If you take away just one thing from this explainer today, let it be this growth equation right here. A generous free tier plus viral invites multiplied by undeniable core utility equals exponential product-led growth. Slack's sprint to $1 billion was not an accident. They built a product that solved a brutal problem, and they used freemium not just as a pricing tier, but as a vital, highly aggressive customer acquisition strategy. They aggressively removed every single barrier to entry, and they just let the software do the heavy lifting. If you rely on end-user adoption, you have to stop relying on forced top-down sales. You need to let the product become so incredibly indispensable that paying for it becomes an absolute no-brainer. I want to leave you with a provocative thought to end on, and I'd love to hear your answers down below. What is the one free software tool you started using just to get your own work done that your company is now paying thousands of dollars a year for? Think about that for a minute, because that is the exact product-led growth model in action. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep building, and I'll catch you next time.